Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a flashlight video. Today should be a pretty fun video. I've got a number of lights out here and I want to talk about what makes a light well suited to EDC, that is everyday carry, versus maybe some lights that aren't that perfect for that role. I do want to qualify this in one important way to kind of get us started, and that is to say this: if you're a person who has a very specific requirement for your light, this may not be the video for you. You know, if you say, I have to have a light that has a 1,000-yard throw, well, okay, but there are only a certain number of lights that are going to meet that specification, and so this isn't going to work well for you. These are going to be lights that are going to be, you know, for the average guy who wants to carry a light around, what kind of things they should be looking for, what kind of size range, brightness range, power they want to be considering. All right, so that's where we're going. Now let's go ahead and get started with our list of the most important criteria that make a light good or bad for EDC, beginning with what I think is the most important one, and that is size. All right. The reality is a light that is too big and too uncomfortable in your pocket, you're just not going to carry it. You're going to get fed up with it and you're going to leave it behind. Okay. And so that means that some of these really small lights, you know, this is the, UltraTac K18, very, very small, takes a AAA battery, pretty decent brightness for its size, by the way, or even something like this Jet Beam or the S1R Baton over there. These are nice, small, compact lights that still give an awful lot of performance. Now, obviously, if you want more brightness, if you want more longevity, you're going to be going up a little bit in size, all the way up to, of course, you know, something like this WowTac. This is the, which one is this? Like the A1S, oh yeah, A1S V2, you can see that there now. So something like this is going to be probably the biggest thing that anyone's going to want to EDC, and you're probably going to have to take specific measures to carry something like this. So you're going to have to consider what kind of, you know, coat or pants you're wearing. Probably going to want to wear like cargo pants or 511s with the extra hip pocket or something to carry something like that all the time. Or consider using some kind of a sheath. And a lot of these do have sheaths available that you could use. I don't like the sheath on my belt. I prefer something that goes in pocket, but certainly how easy this is to carry and how much space it takes up is going to be a big consideration. Now, of course, keep in mind that obviously something like this or this is going to be much brighter, so you're close to 1,000 lumens, where these two are going to be closer to 500 lumens, and this guy is going to be like, I don't know, 100 or something like that. And so you're definitely getting a trade-off in terms of how much brightness. The other trade-off, though, you're going to have to deal with is longevity. So you're going to get a lot more life out of something like this, and this is kind of the middle of the road here in terms of size. Because it's got an 18650 battery, you get pretty good longevity out of this light compared to something like this or like this that you know, I've even killed the battery on some smaller lights like this within one use. You know, if I'm working out in the backyard, fixing the car in the dark or something, I have had it where I've totally killed a battery. All right. So that's an important consideration that you're going to want to make. By the way, here's the other sort of middle size light. This takes a AA battery, and we'll talk about that when we get to that point. So first off is size, right? The second thing you're going to want to consider is user interface. How do I make this light do what I want it to do? And this is, again, going to be somewhat open to personal preference, but it may also, you know, it may also matter about your particular physical characteristics. So I have a moderately wide thumb. I can use this UltraTac just fine. I'm going to try to shine it without totally messing up what's going on. So I can depress this button no problem with my thumb, but I can imagine someone with a thumb really a lot bigger than mine that would have a hard time accessing this because of the little standoffs here that make this so it can tail stand. All right, maybe if you have a really large thumb, something like this that doesn't have any barriers at the end. Again, I'm going to cover this up so I can push it because it's really, really bright. That may be an important feature for you. Now, on the other hand, maybe you don't like that at all. You don't want a tail clicking thing. You want just the button on the side. And again, all of those things are going to be important considerations along with this. All right, how do I get it to do the feature that I want? All right, so if you want it to go in the highest brightness setting all the time, or if you want easy access to moonlight mode, you may want to look through the list of features, and there are tons of ways to do that online. You can watch videos, you can just go to the manufacturer's website, and they'll all tell you about that. So give some thought to how you want this light to work And that will be an important guide in figuring out what particular light you want to carry. Let me give you a good example here. This jet beam, really nice little light for its size, the jet beam EC R26. You have to hold this down for a long time before it comes on. There you go. And hold it down for a long time, again, before it comes on. And that can be something that's going to put a lot of people off. They're going to be like, really? Every time I want this on, I've got to hold it down for like, it seems like a good 2.5, 3 seconds. I'm sure it's less than that, but it just seems longer than, than what is appropriate. All right. By the way, another big example here is this is a turning light where you have to turn the head to get, turn the bezel, I should say, to get the light to go on and off. And again, some people are not gonna like that because it almost, you can kind of do this one-handed, but it's definitely awkward, okay? So that's a big consideration. And finally, under user interface, you have to figure out what features you want and then look at how that feature is accessed. So maybe, you know, you're like, strobe is the most important thing. You have to have easy access to the strobe feature. And so as you're looking at different lights, then you're going to say, well, how do you turn the strobe on this? Is it a double click? Is it a triple click? Is it, you know, hold this down for so many seconds? And you know, is that something you can figure out and remember? All right. Because, you know, I'm assuming that that's going to be for a defensive situation. And in that situation, let me tell you, you're not going to be clear thinking. All right. You're going to have something that's very, very easy and which you've trained with and memorized very thoroughly. So size, user interface, power source. Power source is a big one, and it's definitely something to consider. The first thing that I'll say about this is you have to keep in mind that some batteries are much more expensive. These CR123s, especially this one takes a specialty CR123, but even a light like this, CR123s are a little more expensive and they're not that easy to find, all right? 18650s, same thing. A good one can be a little more expensive and certainly not that easy to find. But then, you know, maybe something like this. This is the 3-Night Archer A1. This takes a AA battery. You know, they're everywhere. You can pick them up, you know, any variety store or Walmart or Dollarama or whatever. Now, let me say this while we're on this subject. If you want the best performance out of your light, if you want the best longevity, if you want it to really deliver for you when it counts, get a decent battery. Okay, if you go to Dollarama and buy the batteries there, you're going to get Dollarama performance, generally speaking. And so it's often worthwhile to to pony up a little extra cash and have that battery. The other consideration here is if you're going to use a light that has a more expensive battery and a more limited availability battery. So this takes a CR123, then you may have to figure out how you're going to make sure that you can always get that. By the way, I have put links to all these lights down in the description box below. And if you use any of those links, it will help the channel a little bit. CR123s, I tend to buy a whole bunch of them. In fact, right now I probably have, I don't know, 10 or 15. I store them in various strategic locations in the car, in my EDC bag. I don't carry them on my person, but I want to know that if my light runs out of batteries, that I've got that backup always pretty easily accessible. All right. Now that does bring up one potential issue. Some of these lights, this one, and this one, oh, this one as well, all have integral charging. That is, hold on. You can take a cord with the O-lights. It's this little cord and it just pops onto the bottom like that. So now this light can be plugged into, you know, any kind of USB port and it can charge. Usually they'll have a micro USB. Let me show you on this one. So this has a micro USB there. And so if you've got, you know, your phone charger or whatever, you can plug that in and plug it into a wall socket and charge your light up. Okay, that's awesome, except if your light dies and you really need it, now, you know, this light is kind of out of commission until you take it and plug it into the wall. Or now this takes regular 18650s. This one though does not. It takes a specialized 18650. So your options are, one, you always plug this in and hope for the best that it never dies on you. Or two, you buy a second specialized O-light 18650 that will work in this light. Same is true of this light, only it's a CR123. And so you've got to kind of figure out how you want to handle that. This one is the same deal, only the charger is internal. So you actually take this battery out and there's a charging port right on the side of the battery. Okay, so that's a great benefit because it means you don't have to go out and buy a lot of batteries. These all come with the battery that they need, except it does mean that, as I said, if your light runs out of batteries, you could be kind of stuck, at least for the, the multiple hours that it takes to recharge. Something like this light, you're just going to grab another AA battery out of the, out of the junk drawer and you're back in action. Same with this guy, only it's AAAs. Okay, so what is your battery? What is your power source? Okay, when it comes to power source, you need to think of availability, you need to think of cost, and you need to think of convenience. How easily can I get another one if I need to? All right, so that's my discussion about power source. There's a whole lot more that could be said there, guys, and I've only given you a few examples of batteries. There are literally dozens of different options that you could look at, but that's something you're going to want to give some careful consideration to. The next up is going to be beam. So these lights, the O lights especially, tend to be a little more floody. The through nights are a little tighter in terms of their beam. It's going to have a smaller, brighter hotspot. It's also going to throw a little better. Okay, something like this. All right, notice. Let's grab these two and put them side by side. So these two are very, very similar. They're similar in lumens, they're similar in size, they're similar in battery shape, but the larger bezel on this one is going to mean it performs quite a bit nicer with getting that light out there and giving you a nice beam. Now, I shouldn't say quite a bit. They're actually very close, but you need to consider what kind of beam you want. If you want a lot of throw, if you want more flood, how much brightness you want. Do you, are 500 lumens enough, or 1,000 lumens enough, or 2,000, 3,000? Okay, what do you want out of your light? Now, I don't know of any EDC-able flashlights that give you 2,000 or 3,000 lumens, but I'm just throwing those out there as examples. I'm going to suggest, okay, and you can debate with me, I'm more than happy to hear it. I'm going to suggest that a floody light is better for EDC. So that's a light that spreads out a long ways, that lights up a large area, okay? And that's definitely how the O lights work, and it's one of the reasons I really like them as EDC lights. They do a wide area and they light it up pretty well. So if you're working on the car, you can see more than just that one little nut you're spinning right now. You can kind of see the rest of the engine. If you drop something, you're going to be able to find it, all with your light kind of in one location. That's a really, really helpful feature. Now, I will say these lights all, forget that. We'll save that one for later. We're still talking about beam. So all of those are considerations you're going to want to kind of give, as well as most of these lights are available in either neutral white or white. Okay, and that's kind of a fluorescent light versus a lamp at home on the side table of your couch. So a lamp tends to produce that warmer, yellower light, where a fluorescent light has that whiter, somewhat harsher light. And I don't know about every single one of these, but many, many lights are available in one of those two options. I really don't have a strong preference. I just want to see what's going on. But you may have a really strong preference along those lines. Where I do have to worry about it more is making a video like this. I've got to figure out how to get a very neutral sort of light so that it doesn't look really yellow or pink and that it doesn't look really harsh and washed out. Anyway, that's for making YouTube videos. It has nothing to do with EDC lights, but you're going to want to consider what kind of beam your light has. Now, let me share a little weakness that I have. I can really geek out over a light with a lot of throw. So while I will openly admit that a floody light is a little better for EDC and for practical purposes, it's really, really cool when you can light up that tree that's like 500-600 yards away from your backyard. And you go, man, I can't believe this little light that I can hold in my hand can fire a beam of light all the way over there. That's really stinking impressive. And it's a lot of fun, and it's a good way to impress your friends. I would suggest that it's probably not as practical as a floody light, unless, again, you have a specific need for it, okay? Now, I want to talk about looks next. In my opinion, now this is my humble opinion, the O lights with the blue bezel, and some accents. This one is especially nice. The Olights tend to look a little nicer. Now, looks is definitely subjective. My Olight S Mini in titanium is my prettiest light. Now, there is a whole branch of flashlight, there's a whole aspect of this hobby that is about custom lights and highly decorative, brightly colored lights. And that's not really, I'm not even going to bother getting into that too much. If you like that kind of thing, then hey, pick the light that you think is the prettiest and that, gives you the most joy. For me, though, a light is more of a tool and I don't care as much how it looks. I will admit, though, that if you compare these two lights, this one is a lot prettier than this one, okay? Even though this one does have a crown on it, I still definitely prefer the Olight in terms of looks. So looks may be something that you want to consider. What about cost? All right. One of the nice things about lights is they don't have to break the bank. You can get a really, really high quality, good functioning, bright light for a pretty affordable price. Now, the Olights tend to be in this category a little more expensive. And again, we're not talking about the custom lights or the very specialty lights, but the Olights tend to be a little more expensive, although offer some really nice performance. Through nights, the WowTacs, these jet beams, and there are many others are going to be even cheaper. Now, one thing I will say is, there are a lot of dirt cheap lights on Amazon, and it's really, really sketchy, guys. That's all I'm going to say. If you buy one, there are some, and I've had great experiences with it. I'm just going to tell you this. I bought some AA lights, so lights in this size. I bought a set of 3. They came in, they were awesome. I absolutely love them. I was like, this is so cool. I'm going to buy more. So I bought 5. I thought, well, I'm going to, I was going to give some as gifts. There were a couple places around the house where I wanted to put them. The second batch that came in were crap. Okay. They didn't always light up when I wanted them to. They had loose parts. And so with the super cheap lights, it's a bit of a crapshoot. I'm not saying they're all bad. In fact, as I just said, I had some great experiences, but you never know for sure what you're going to get. You probably need to order more than one, or maybe even try more than one source and see which one works out the best if you want to go the really, really, really budget route. If you just want to go reasonably affordable, Through Night is excellent. WowTac, of course, is the even more budget version of Through Night, or the more budget line from Through Night. And they make really nice performing lights. They're really tough, they're really durable, and they have awesome performance. So when it comes to cost, really there's a huge amount of opportunity to have a great light for a really affordable price. That's one of the nice things about flashlights, at least from my perspective, is they tend to cost a little less than knives. I've got a few here. I don't really collect flashlights, but I do like them and like to be able to share them with you guys. The other question here that's going to be a major one for a light's ability to be EDC, that is carried every day, is durability. Now, most of these are going to be highly durable. In fact, you can go online and watch all kinds of destruction tests and water drop tests, and water tests, and, all kinds of different things. All I'm going to say about this is Olights have been really good to me. I literally put this through the wash. Okay, I had it in a pair of pants pockets. Don't know why I can't pronounce pants right now. It went through the washing machine, came out totally fine. And as soon as I pulled it out of the washing machine, I turned it on. It functioned totally fine. I took it upstairs. I dried it off. I opened it up to see if any water had gotten inside the light. Nothing did. It was dry as a bone. One nice thing about these lights is they tend to be really, really well made, and they tend to be very durable. I'm sure there's going to be exceptions to that rule. There's going to be lights that drop and break and all kinds of things like that. But for the most part, if you buy a dependable brand, a reputable brand, you're going to be fine. Warranty is a thing as well that you may want to think about. A lot of them have pretty good warranties. I will say this, the WowTac warranty is not that hot, but the others are pretty stinking good. Finally, let me give you sort of my overall thoughts about what I look for, and I'd love to hear yours down below. So when you're looking at an EDC light, what is it primarily that you're hoping to get out of it? I look for a light that has a lot of brightness for its size. I tend to like brighter lights. Part of it is, I'm kind of geeking out over that. I do like lights that throw a long way, but for my EDC purposes, I tend to avoid them. They end up sitting on a shelf, and I'll get them out when I need that light for, you know, something where I want to look a long way. I like something that's a pretty compact size. I like it to look nice, but really I'm not big on that. And so for me, out of all the lights here, I'm going to give you the ones that I find are the most well suited to EDC. Let's get these guys out of the way. And these are the ones that I find to be the best. The Olight S2 baton is great because it's an 18650 shrunk down as small as it can be. These two are CR123 lights, as well as the Olight Mini, which is also CR123. These are the lights that are in my pocket the most often because, as I say, you get a lot of brightness, a lot of performance in a pretty compact size, and I definitely appreciate that. So again, I'd love to hear your criteria. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we will talk to you soon.